Hi, everybody. It is Dr. Angela Cudger, the founder of Legacy Holistic Health Institute, and we are here for another Wellness Tribe check-in, the Legacy Wellness Tribe check-in. Today, we have Dr. Natasha Bruley, affectionately known as Chef Bee, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about sacred foods and how you can keep those things very, very simple. Now, see, people are already starting to jump on, so as soon as you jump on here, you know how it goes. Let us know that you can hear us. Let us know that you can see us. Let us know that everything is all good, and we will dive into the content. Today, we're going to be talking all about how food is sacred and how when we expand our diet and when we expand what we eat, we naturally expand our consciousness and we naturally raise our vibration. A lot of people have heard about this information, but they haven't had it brought into the perspective that we're going to kind of bring it into for you guys tonight. So as soon as you hop on here, let us know that you can hear us, let us know that you can see us, and let us know that we're all good. All right, they're already jumping in. Charlene says, I can hear you and I can see you.
Hey, Charlene.
So the next thing we want you to do is share this live stream out. I can promise you that every time we go live here in the Legacy Wellness Tribe and anywhere across social platforms, your live stream becomes a live stream. And so your timeline potentially becomes someone's lifeline. Someone somewhere in your tribe and connected to you is probably looking for this information, especially in light of everything that's going on. So you want to make sure you share this out so that they get this information too. So we're going to dive right in. And so one of the things that a lot of people may not be aware of is that there are billions, if not trillions, of dollars spent on advertising to move you further away from the things that make you healthy. Yes, Snickers, Mars bars, Coca-Colas, all these different things are out there. Tony the Tiger, right? They attach these characters to these things so that they lock you in at an early age. But one of the things we want to be aware of is that food and eating food and how we partake of food is nothing different to us. It is tied to our ancestry. It is tied to us culturally. It is tied to us emotionally, and it is tied to us economically. And even though you may not be able to do anything about Big Pharma, you vote 3 times a day with what you choose to put on your plate and what you choose to feed your family. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how you can start to bring those things back around and how you can begin to shift your ideas and your perspectives about nutrition back to the way it was supposed to be: holistic, wholesome, healing, and authentic. So Natasha, let's jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about, and Natasha, people know you for a lot of things. But one of the things that I think is so pivotal was your transformation with food. Okay.
Yes.
And that is the thing that I think if people scrolled your timeline, I could tell you they got to go all the way back to way back. Right. The only thing we have is if Facebook kind of reminds us and says, yo, this was you, right? It has no problem with telling us that. And so I want you to share a little bit about your journey and your journey with food, because all the other things that came along with it were these accessories, but your journey with food and your relationship with food.
Wonderful. So just to give you guys some background about me, because I think context is everything. I'm from Guyana. So I grew up in New York. And even though I didn't grow up in Guyana, if you know anything about New York, it is a cultural melting pot. So very much grown up eating foods from home, a lot of foods that are very rich, a lot of rice dishes, heavy in starch. And I love those foods. They're absolutely delicious. A lot of meat, a lot of beef, a lot of fish, chicken, things of those nature. Now, when I grew up in the 90s too. And so when I went to college, that consciousness, the hip hop music, the souls to souls of the world, all of those artistries really informed how I started to think about food. And I think it was also the generation that I was in. Many of us at school, in college, we decided to go vegetarian. But we were doing vegetarian, clean vegetarian. We were eating French fries and bread, but we just weren't eating meat because you just don't do that. And so this consciousness around food was always there, but not necessarily knowing how to do it correctly. So I would even say that even though I was vegetarian, it was still a sad diet because it was very much steeped in fried foods, a lot of starches, a lot of salt, all right? And so, you know, as I matriculated through schools, started putting on weight, even though I was vegetarian, right? And even when I got into graduate school later on, as I think I mentioned somewhere else, you know, I actually started back eating chicken, beef, things of those nature, because I was under the impression that you needed all this animal-based protein in your diet, particularly if you're working out, if you're trying to build muscle. That's what I was always told, right? That's what we're all told. And as a result of my diet just not being where it needed to be, you know, I started to experience health challenges, just very sodium rich. And one of the things that I always talk to people about is, you know, when I developed hypertension, it was due to stress, but then it was also due to eating poorly. I had to change everything. I had to go back to a pure plant-based diet in order to really reverse some of the, you know, the issues that I was experiencing. And so I started doing a lot of education to understand really, why do they say food is medicine? What's really happening in the body? And so unbeknownst to me, you know, at the time, you know, you're thinking you're doing things correctly, but you actually realize that you're not doing it correctly at all. You're still eating emotionally. You're still eating high cholesterol foods. You're still eating a lot of saturated fats. You're not eating a balanced plate. And so when you start having these health challenges, you're like, what? You know, I'm doing vegan, I'm doing vegetarian. Well, are you doing it correctly, right? Are you're mindful about what's going on in your body? And when you're not doing that, when you're not really being conscious in that way, it really impacts, you know, your health outcomes.
Yes.
And so what you want to add anything in there?
No, yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think what a lot of people, because we got an onslaught of people going plant-based, and we have an onslaught of companies that were predominantly animal-based products that are now giving you plant-based options. And it's not that those companies don't know food and things like that, but we got to keep in mind that they know marketing and sales more than they probably know nutrition, right? Because if somebody sold you a bad car, would you go back to that same person to buy another bad car? Like we understand this intuitively with other things, but when it comes to our plate, we are overly trusting to people who have no authority in the space. Or, you know, so that's one of the things I wanted to say. And then I also think that we want to keep in mind that everything is tied together, right? Like you were saying, like your emotions and your culture and all these things. And it's imperative that all of those things create the context of what we call matter, right? Matter, think of matter tonight. And when we mention it as your food, and inside of matter is your body. So the matter creates your body. And then inside of that is your soul, and then your spirit, right? Your mind, then your soul, then your spirit. So you want to, and think of it as like a nesting doll. So your culture is the overshadow of everything you put on your plate, into your mind, into your body, and everything that we have right now is a result of our environment. And so it's no wonder it's tough for people to go raw. It's no wonder it's tough for people to truly do vegetarian, or do it the way, like you said, like off, you know, fried, you know, scattered, covered, chopped, and smothered, as they say at the Waffle House, right? But it's vegetarian, right? And so we want to be aware of these things as well. And so go ahead.
So what I was going to also add to that is just really understanding that the food choices that we make is so deeply tied to emotions, and that our foods help us to remember moments in our life that were good, that brought us joy, and we're often trying to get back there all the time. And that is one of the big things that informs our plate. All right. So if you think about just, you know, stress, and you're trying to manage stress, you might crave something sweet, or you might crave something chocolatey, or, you know, if you're trying to get a bit of a boost, a high, you might eat some chocolate, or you might get some coffee, because there are memories that those foods help to evoke. And like for me, you know, a long time I had to shake eating a lot of like the old school Caribbean food that I was growing up on, right? because it just was not healthy, heavy in starch. So really part of the work that I've been doing is how do I reinvent some of those dishes? How do I reinvent some of these traditional foods so that we can do a healthy spin on them? And let's be clear, I'm one of those folks that I don't want to call it what it isn't, just to kind of brand it a certain way, but just giving people another option, giving myself another option so that, I can still enjoy memories of home, but I'm not hurting myself in the process. And so really that's been the inspiration for all of this work. And then also to share that message out to people. We know that you're used to the Southern cuisine. We know that you're used to the African food. We know you're used to the Caribbean food, but this is hurting you, fundamentally hurting you. When I went home to visit family, a traditional plate would have maybe about 4 or 5 servings of white rice.
Wow.
And then you might have a stew, a little stew, because stew is just like, it's not a lot to go around in a large family. But rice can really fill you up, right? You have a little bit of stew. You might have some pepper sauce on the side. You might have some cucumbers, right? It's really not a balanced plate. It's delicious, but it's not a balanced plate. And so when we look at our communities that have hypertension, they have diabetes, incidences of diabetes, high cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, it is the plate. And they're like, well, I eat rice and I eat stew. That's all I'm eating. But they don't really understand the impact that that's having in the body over time. Developing insulin resistance. There's so many different things that's happening when your plate looks like that.
Yeah, I love it. And one of the things we always say in this tribe, you guys, and we're going to run to the comments here in a moment because we got quite a few comments coming in. One of the things that I always say is healing is a choice. And one of the first things that we do when we heal is we vote with our plate. Like we vote on a healthier plate. And that vote looks a lot greener, right? In so many different ways, right? Everything green starts to shift. How you spend your money, the value, like for example, now I look a lot more at not just the cost per like what I'm getting in the store, like, oh, a box of this costs this or a bag of this costs that. I look at how many calories plant-based am I getting for the money I spend, right? And so it matters to me now because I have to weigh my food, because I have to, when I eat more plant-based or I eat raw in the spring or I juice, now it matters to me economically that I'm getting highly nutrient-dense food for the green that I'm spending. What am I getting for the green that I'm spending? And that's something that we've got to get back to. So real quick, let's run to the comments. Jocelyn says, so very true. Our Caribbean food is big on starch and could be hurtful to our health. And I want us to understand too, environment has a lot to do with what we choose. And we're going to dive into that tonight too, because when you take an African out of the hot sun, out of walking everywhere, out of not driving, out of not having a standard American diet to, being able to grow, pick, wash, eat, and live that way, and you plant them in the UK, in the city, or you plant them in the US somewhere on the East Coast, for example, right, in the South, then it's a completely different thing, right? They can't bring those heavy foods and things with them because they'll quickly begin to see that their energy starts to wane. Their health takes a different kind of turn. So when you take that person out of, so food is also specific to culture, but it has the environment also has something to do with it as well. Hey, Grace Keisa, Captoria Kyle says healing is a choice. Jocelyn says excellent topic. She loves it. Keisha says greetings everyone. Hey, Keisha. Lori says blessed evening everyone. Hey Yvette. Yvette says good evening. Weta Strong says greetings queens. Good. In here with us. Hey, Ray Sawyer, thank you for jumping in here. Ray says love Angela, so awesome. Thank you so much, Ray Sawyer. All right, so let's go ahead. Valine Cannon says good evening everyone. So let's go ahead and let's dive in a little bit deeper, right?
Because about seasonal eating, right? I want to talk about seasonal eating, Angela.
Let's do it, because food runs deep, right? And when I hear the word seasonal, just so you know, I think moon cycles, I think starting and stopping, I think winter solstice, I think summer solstice, the equinox. I of alignment with Mother Earth when you say seasonal. That's what I think. And I eat for the seasons, and I let my body do what it needs to do for the seasons. So somebody might say, you look skinny this summer. It's because I'm eating more fresh and I'm eating more raw. I'm naturally moving into what I'm supposed to eat. Or it's like, dang, you thickened up for the wintertime. I allow my body to do what it's supposed to do. Stay in tune and in alignment with Mother Nature. So let's talk about eating for the seasons.
So what I really want people to think about is really remembering and really gaining that intuition about what your body needs as the weather changes, as the seasons change. Your body naturally calls for different things, and it's all about you listening to what your body's calling for. So, for example, we are now in the spring equinox or coming off of the spring equinox. So the foods that are coming up, definitely a lot of greens, right? We're seeing the things like strawberries, a lot more berries. We're seeing just a ton of greens from the winter that are now harvesting. We see things like carrots, radishes, right? So lots of leafy greens. And we're moving out of the cycle of warming foods, right? Because in the wintertime, we want to be warm. We want to be nourished because we've been indoors hibernating, right? And so now it's time to break forward, break loose into the spring. And so your body naturally wants different foods. It wants to start lightening the load. And then as you move into the summer, your body wants to lighten even more. I find for myself that I can't really eat a whole lot of food in the summer. I do a lot more fruits. I drink a lot more water and a lot more foods that are very high in water content. So, you know, I might have 1 or 2 light meals in the summer as opposed to the winter. I'm really eating a lot more, I would say, robust meals, comforting foods, because, you know, it's just that time is chilly, right? And that's one of the reasons why you put on a little bit more weight in the winter time, right? So seasonal is so important, y'all, because every environment that we're in has a communication to our bodies. Every environment that we're in. So even if you're in Atlanta, even if you are in Nigeria, even if you are in New Orleans, and that's the place that you've decided to go and be in for a while, there is a communication to your body, to the soil, to the foods, all those things coming together. Those are the things that you need at that particular time. And that's one of the key things for seasonal eating. One, it's cheaper, right? It's just more affordable. And from a carbon footprint standpoint, and for those of you who don't know what I mean by that is, you know, some of us are eating a lot of exotic foods that are coming from, you know, way across the planet just because we want to try something different. And we're not saying that that's not bad, right? That's good. You want to, you know, diversify your plate. But we want to also be mindful that the foods that are indigenous to the place that you are in, or the foods that are just there, those are the foods that you need to sustain you in that time, in that moment.
And I love that Mother Earth did it this way. Worth being grateful for that. This is the way it works. That if I put my feet on the ground of this longitude, this latitude, this space on this planet, it grounds my body into that space. And then if I eat what is around me, if I connect in community and people around me and eat what is available to me, then it will keep my body healthy. When I veer off of that track, Mother Nature, begins to include, right? It's time to shift things a little bit more, right? And so I love that it works this way. You need to really kind of expand how they eat, because over 11,000, make sure you guys know this, because people think that it just happened. In the past 20 years, so this just happened. 7 years, mankind has dwindled its diet down to no more than about 15 to 19 items. Things like corn, soy, dairy, wheat, gluten. Those are the main things that we've dumbed our diet down to. The unfortunate thing is As a result of that decrease, that contraction in what we're eating and our ability to expand our diet also has taken away from our expansion of consciousness. And so now you see a lot of different things happening to bring us back to a space where we can begin to expand our consciousness, eat like we're supposed to eat, act like we're supposed to act. Locked up in this expansion is your ability to get these massive downloads for your purpose to change the planet, your ability to connect in community to other souls and different people who are here to do the same thing. So what you eat is very, very deep. It has a very deep connotation and connection to who you are and what you decided to bring to the planet. Right, Natasha?
Ashe. And I would also add to that, you know, when we talk about high vibration foods, high vibrational foods are the foods that are raw. All right. So you and I were talking a little bit about phytonutrients. And phytonutrients, for those of you who don't know, these are the chemical constituents that are in our foods that are going to have the antioxidants and the healing properties that we need to fight diseases, to fight viruses, and to just stay strong and fortified. And when we eat a lot of cooked foods, we're basically killing off those phytonutrients, right? We may still have the minerals and the vitamins that we're accessing in the foods, but things like enzymes, things that's going to help us to access the vitamins and the minerals, we're basically killing those things off. And so now we have to use other things that are not natural in order to access those nutrients.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why we like to eat clean food, raw food, local food, is because we're going to get those nutrients. You guys know that the moment that you go to a farm and you pick any kind of vegetable, right, particularly if it's coming from a very far distance, 50% of those nutrients are lost by the time you get it in the grocery store, right? And so just imagine sitting in your fridge even longer than that. You know, you're excited. Oh, I'm eating kale. Oh, I'm eating collard greens. But really, the nutrient density has diminished tremendously from the time it was picked to the time you actually got it on your plate.
And this is even worse for things like meat. This is even worse for things like that have very low nutritive value, and then it's been made to stay a certain way so that they can actually not look funny to you when you spend your money on it, right? So it's so old. It is so old by the time you get it and it gets on your plate and you actually cook it, right? Talk less about it being a fresh kill and then freezing it and doing all these things to it so that it looks like something presentable that you want to buy and eat. So old, right? One of the things I heard a doctor say, and this was an outstanding, I can't remember who said it, but I didn't make this up. So it was an outstanding example. He said, if you took everything that you ate in a day, whether it was chicken, turkey, fish, steak, potatoes, all these different things, and you put them in a pot and you covered the pot and you set it in the sun, what do you think will happen to that stuff within a 24-hour period? So by the time you come back, it's probably going to have some flies on it, right? It's going to probably have a smell to it that's not so great, right? It's going to have all these things to it. So think of this when you're not eating clean. Your body is like that hot pot. Your bowels, your digestive system is like that hot pot sitting in the sun. If you're not eliminating properly every day, that's why I cringe when I see a plate with no green on it. I'm like, oh my God, you're not eliminating properly. That's a problem. That's a huge problem, right? And so think of your digestive system as that pot, right? This is why people's eyes sometimes change color when they go raw. There are people who eat raw diets and their eyes go from brown to green to blue, and it doesn't matter what race you are. You have the ability to change the way things show up on your body. Some people carry so many toxins because they're not eliminating properly. Your diet, your connection to your body, and how sacred you treat it always shows up on your plate, always. And I don't care how popular you are, you can't cheat that. Like you can't cheat that, right?
You cannot, Angela. You cannot. And I'll also add to this. When I studied this stuff and did a massive raw food detox. We're talking wheatgrass enemas. We're talking sprouting your food. We're talking, alkaline water, Just amazing, amazing cleanse. And I'll tell you, your frequency is it's no game. Your vibration, your frequency elevates. Your creativity. I remember this. I did was just 10 days. It wasn't even like this long 30 days. Just imagine if I did this for 30 days, 60 days, 100 days, 10 days. And the amount of creative force, energy that was just downloaded to me. Oh my God, I could do this. Oh my God, I could do this. Oh my God, I could do this. It was incredible because I was moving all of the clutter out of my system and I was making room for the things that really mattered. So just imagine if we're doing that on an ongoing basis. It's powerful, y'all. And I'll tell you this, they're nervous about giving up the things that make them feel good. And food makes people feel really, really good.
Yeah.
And, I think that many of us feel like we have to forget those moments that were dear to us because, an apple pie or fried chicken or macaroni and cheese is really tied to family. It's tied to someone that you love. It's tied to an experience. And oftentimes when we ask people to shift a little bit or, invite them to shift, they think that they have to let all of those things go. Maybe you do. But you also want to consider that it's about elevation, right? And it's about expanding your own consciousness. And so if you decide to stay there, if you decide to continue eating the things that are not serving you well, you're really not expanding your consciousness.
No, not at all. And I don't care how woke you think you are. Not at all. I can tell you right now, the day I see a chicken wing on your plate and you try to say your vibe is high, I'm gonna look at you sideways. There's no way. You can't even begin to understand what it is because that chicken wing is still on your plate. And I'm just being like real raw and honest here, right? Because I've been the chicken wing on the plate girl, and I've been the 40 days raw girl, and I've been the 30 days just juice girl, right? So I've been both, and I know there is an exponential difference.
Yes.
When you eat from the earth, when you just eat what's from the earth. And I mean also not just what you're putting in, but what you're putting on. Those things also make a difference too, right? So a lot of people might wear a crystal and then sit down to a turkey dinner. It doesn't really make sense, right? Let me wait a second. Okay, if that's the way you think it works, right? But I'm just saying that to say there's so much more untapped, unlocked potential when we eat the right diet, right person, right culture, right connection to ancestors, right time, right community, right now. When you line all those things up, it is inevitable. Right? Anything and everything about your body and your life will quantum leap. And if you've never had the opportunity to do that, you owe it to yourself to just be able to do that. Right. I always say, Natasha, a lot of people used to ask me when I did bodybuilding, they was like, wow, how do you look like that? And I tell people, I say, you probably have outstanding genetics. You've just never given yourself the opportunity to really let it shine. Most people have never seen themselves with a flat stomach when they're over 40. Most people have never seen themselves look the absolute best that they can and be in the best shape and the best state of wellness in their lives. Most people can't remember that past high school. Most people can't. And so they've never really stretched to give themselves the opportunity to really have what they absolutely deserve and what is their natural state anyway, right? And that's abundance and that's health. Let's run to the comments really quickly. Nikita says, good evening. Ethiopian, I hope I said that right, says, love and light, Hotep, Ethiopian. Nikita says, driving and listening, leaping in my spirit for such a good information. We just put those hands up. All right. She's going to definitely take seasonal eating into consideration. It is number one way to keep your weight, your hormones, and your weight check. It just makes it easy, right? It's so
simple. It's simple, y'all. It's so simple. Let me say this, when you start cleansing, I would say the first couple of days on a cleanse is probably the most challenging one because you're rebalancing your palate, you're rebalancing everything. So sometimes people even feel a little, they may get a headache. They might just sort of not feel themselves. Because your body's detoxing and your body's getting adjusted to this new norm, right? But I would say, man, a week in, 3 days in, 4 days in, you start feeling differently. You know, when you start getting that energy, that rush of energy, that rush of creativity, when you start seeing the results in your body, you know, if you're working out, you're doing yoga and your stomach is staying flat, oh my gosh, you're like, I don't want to go back to that.
Why would I?
And let me say this
Yep.
too. You really start to taste the difference between live food, food that was made or grown with intention and love, and the difference with that and processed foods, and how one, hyper salty it is,
Yeah.
so much sodium, too sugary. You're like, oh my God, this is just too much. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
But because we are not training our palate to really enjoy the real deal of food, the
Yeah.
natural essence of food, we're used to all of these chemicals on the food. We're not really tasting food. We're not really experiencing food in its natural form. And so that's why we think it's so difficult for us. You know, there's some people that even say, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to eat, right? Because I'm not ready to give up these things that I absolutely love. And maybe one day they'll get there, but it's an honest reaction.
Yeah.
I also would say that when you think about food and your relationship to food, think about it like this. When you have, you know, some of you out there, you might be in a relationship with a loved one, or you might have some friends, some guy friends or girlfriends, and they're not always nice to you, but you always go back to that relationship. Right? You always go back to that relationship. You're like, all right, I'm just gonna give them another chance this time. Let me just try again. And then they disappoint you. You're like, and then you go back again. We can equate our relationship to food in the same way.
Absolutely. It's so deep and sacred. And to that point, some of the reasons why we treat, and this is something that we teach at Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys a little bit about health coaching, because we noticed that a lot of people who go and do our survey say that they have no idea what health coaching is, right? So number one, if you're in here and you're from Legacy, make sure you shout out your cohort in the comments, right? But to that end, we know that in Legacy, all things are connected, from our relationships to what's on our plate, to our money, to our intellectual property, our intellectual ability. The way we do one thing is the way that we do everything, right? And even if you're on here and you say, well, I eat healthy, but I do classes for free. I do my yoga classes for free, or I give out free advice. There is still a disconnection between what you're doing and how you're showing up and serving and expecting value for what you're bringing to the planet, right? There is still a massive disconnection. And so the way we do one thing is the way we do everything, right? And so to that end, I want to be able to talk a little bit about here how food actually gives us so much feedback, like you said, with the saltiness and with the sugar. Our bodies are always giving us signs. Like most people don't know, like when they look at a baby's tongue, right? And you tell us in the comments, what does a baby's tongue look like, right? Is it white? Is it pink? Is it shiny? Is it red? What does a baby's tongue look like? Because they got brand new systems, right? When these babies are born, they are super cute. The skin is glowing, the toes are cute, right?
Yes, soft, supple.
But they grow up, child. They grow up. Oh my God. Lordy, do they grow up, right? And for a long time, even teens have, typically, if they're eating correctly, they have clearer skin. Their tongues are still red. Their tongues are still shiny. Over time, right? And I want you to check your own self on this. Check your body. Your body's always giving you signs. If your tongue has a white film over it, that is a surefire sign that there's some work on your digestive system that probably needs to happen, right? You should be using a tongue scraper often, every day, sometimes more than once a day, even if you eat a plant-based diet. Even if you eat a plant-based diet, you still want to be tongue scraping on a regular basis, because your mouth, everything inside your mouth, the color of things inside your mouth give you so much feedback on what's going on with your digestive system. Everything is being shown to you. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to these things. Now, additionally, I wanted to say, I love the feedback that we get, not just physically, but metaphysically, right? There are, like, intuition is at an all-time high when a person eats a certain way. And this is what we're talking about when we're thinking about food being sacred.
Yeah. So I want to actually share with some folks here some foods that are considered high vibrational foods that they might want to include in their diet. So things like chlorophyll-rich foods, very high vibrational foods. When you think of superfoods, this would be considered a superfood. Foods that are rich in phytonutrients, wheatgrass. All right, doesn't taste the best, but it's super good for you. All right, things like spirulina, things like seaweed, right? Raw chocolate. We're talking about bitter chocolate now with a bunch of sugar. All right, but would you guys know what's one of the best foods that tops all of that out there? Sunlight. Sunlight is the highest vibrational food that you could get. So
and it's free, which is in like everybody's budget.
And it's free. So you go outside and you just get, you feed off of the chemical energy of the sunlight. And there are quite a few other high vibrational foods, but those are definitely top of the list. Sprouts. Why? Enzyme rich, protein rich. The energy that is coming from the sprout as the little butt, I call it the little butt or the little tail comes out, pokes out of the seed or the nut. That is the most optimal nutrient dense food that you can have. It's so amazing for your body. You can eat that food and you're like, oh my God, I feel healed.
Yeah. Your cells literally start buzzing, like literally, right? And then I'll say to people, if you have tried, because someone on here, let's run to the comments. Jocelyn says it's a very deep, sacred conversation. This is so good. Thank you, Jocelyn. We got a lot of cohorts hanging out in here. 6 is in the house. 10 is here. Yeah. Cohort 10. What's up, cohort 10? Right? Cohort 6, y'all are almost done. Cohort 7's in the house.
Cohort 1.
Captoria says sunlight is a high vibrational food. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Says she gets a lot of sunlight. Sunlight is a natural detoxer. Now, someone on here says, okay, she says, I need to hear this. Thank you. I am in the process of getting back on track. And all it takes is the next step. All it takes is the right opportunity, right time, right now, right people to guide you, right? Yeah. And so one of the things I want to say here is that biofeedback from your body is so significant and it's so important. And the fact that you feel like, thank you for being transparent, but and we appreciate that because that's what this tribe is about. And so the moment you feel like I'm a little bit off, right? It's time to start reaching for some other things. One of the things we don't want to do though, and we teach this at Legacy, is try to help somebody else while you still need help. So, and that's a big thing with people who feel like they know health and wellness and they know different things, but they always come back and say, you know what? I'm the only one if you're the only one, I'm gonna hit y'all with something real quick. How many of you guys in this live stream, whether you're watching us on YouTube and all these different things, and we're gonna get to the questions, but I want y'all to answer a question for me. How many of you on this live stream, somebody has come to you for food, eating, movement, motivation, or maintenance advice? Type yes in the comments, no matter where you're watching. If somebody somewhere has either inboxed you, called you, texted you, asked you in person, pulled you to the side and say, hey, can you help me with
Can you help me? Yep.
Can you help me with how I'm doing? Right. So if someone has pulled you to the side and said that, I want you to type yes, me in the comments. Right. Now, the second question I want you to ask yourself is, if you gave advice and they didn't follow it, if you gave advice and they did not follow it, meaning they asked you for help, yes, that's me, right? And if you gave advice and they didn't follow it, I want you to say, yep, that's me too, right? I want you to put that in the comments because here's the thing we want to understand. There's a difference in living getting track and then being the leader of your legacy so that everyone else can follow you. Got it? So I think that a lot of times we are in the space where we are in the space where we are so quick to be able to want to give advice when we just put the straw in our mouth to take in our first glass of green juice. When we just started learning how to make our own nut meats and different things raw, right? Right?
Yeah.
That's me too. All right. So here's the thing we want to understand. If that is you too, number one, you have the vibration. That's first thing. You have the ability to trust the people who are here to help you. Second thing is you get and that means there's a skill that you have to cultivate so that you can get them to make change. Mm-hmm. That is what health coaches do. Yep. So if you're on this thing and you're like, people are coming to me and I'm the one and I've been trying and I'm trying to stay on track. Mm-hmm. When I give advice, no one listens. That is because it's not that you don't have the magic touch. You haven't been trained. Yeah. That is what this is. Health coaching walks you through that. So you have the highest value of information, not just for yourself, but the way that you convey that information sparks the next person to take the advice and actually go do it. Yeah. That's what health coaches do, right? This is why doctors align with them. And the way that you shift yourself to be able to make the best decision is you got to get clean yourself. You got to get clean yourself. Yep. You have to know how to eat raw. You have to know how to juice when you're supposed to. You got to get yourself on point first before they start to follow you. That is what this is all about, right?
Let me say this too. I feel like it's a duty to myself. When we talk about sacred eating, there are people who are trusting me as a health coach to guide them to somewhere different than where they are. And so it's a development of discipline that they may not have yet. And so in my mind, it's like, who am I to not have discipline? I am helping people to create new rituals for themselves, new ways of being for themselves. So I have to start with me first. They always say, heal the coach, heal the client, right? Heal the coach, heal the client. So how dare I not cleanse? How dare I not set an intention to eat a certain way and then I'm like sneaking behind the scenes and doing other stuff? Mm-hmm. How dare I do that? Yeah. Because I think you have to understand where people are coming from, mm-hmm. right? You got to really feel where they're coming, why this is a struggle. And so you got to be on that journey too, so that you can see where the pitfalls are, so that you can help people to rise up beyond and just keep going. They say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, right? And I always say, you show up for yourself and I'll show up for you, right? But that same thing goes for me. I got to show up for myself as well.
Yep. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about this is that it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're going to always attract around you the people who are like you. And it's not an opposites attract kind of thing, right? The universe is serious about people who raise their vibe and they're ready to help other people. And so those people, when they don't take the necessary steps, when they are kind of in and kind of out, when they're still second guessing their knowledge, when they're sharing their knowledge with people and no one's taking the advice, no one's doing what they say, that is a sign that somewhere along the lines, more training, more community support needs to happen so that you're able to do that. Nobody has the magic touch. I can promise you they have been trained, right? They have been trained at helping people get and create behavioral change. So it's not that you don't know what you're doing, and it's not that your advice is not good enough. People will flock to you when you have been trained, when you have what you need to help them, because that is universal law. That's how it works, right? So really quickly, let's run to the comments. Weeda Strong says, lead by example. Nikita says, and that's why I love me some Tasha.
What's up, Nikita?
She says, Valine Cannon says, thank you for sharing this knowledge. Absolutely. Diana says, it's my dream to be trained at Legacy. There is so much space for you. You might
Diana.
Right? Everyone else is saying truth. Yes, that's me. Yes, that's me too. Right. And so we want to make sure that she said somebody said they needed to hear this tonight. And so we want to make sure that before you leave, that you are actually on the right track to get the information that you need. Many times, let me see, somebody just put another comment. Charlene says, I was saying that to myself today. How am I going to tell somebody one thing and I am doing something else? We have to constantly reassess ourselves. Healing is
Okay.
every choice, and we make that choice
Healing is
every
a
time
choice.
we open our eyes. Every time we wake up,
Mm-hmm.
every time. And if we don't choose to heal, we are choosing the opposite. Whatever that opposite is for you, fill in the blank. But
Yes.
every single day we are choosing to heal. It is a choice. And so for those of you who are here, we want to make sure that you get your abundance that we have exactly that we have made for you. Jonathan says, I know legacy and what it stands for. Legacy is our we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we have going at legacy. So I'm going to let Natasha talk a bit about raw and what it stands for and what it does. And then we're going to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to choose to be a part of this.
All right. So actually you broke up a little bit. Do you want me to talk about Spring Into the Raw
Yes.
a little bit? Okay. So y'all, Spring Into the Raw is a brainchild between myself and a local farmer. Her name is Jamila Norman. We started this in 2015. So wow, it's been 5 years. And our goal was to bring our communities together and to go raw, eat raw for 30 days. So we designed, curated a menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 30 days. So that's 90 recipes. And we've had several iterations of Spring Into the Raw, but now we've changed it. So it's no longer 30 days, but it's 10 days. You could do it for 30 days if you want to, but it's 10 days. And so really the idea of Spring Into the Raw now is to really show people that eating raw, eating plant-based is very accessible to them. And it's affordable. All right. This is not something that is beyond you. All right. And to help people to have some amazing results with their energy and just, being able to go back into the kitchen and actually prepare some very simple, highly beautiful gourmet meals for themselves. So Spring Into the Raw, the second cohort, we're just finishing up Spring Into the Raw, day 10. So I actually worked with a group of women and we just ended today. We do have another group starting on Monday, April 20th, and it will go from April 20th to April 29th. We do these sorts of seasonal cleanses every year, every season. And in this particular case, this is the spring equinox. So we usually curate the menus for all of the things that are available in the spring. So again, we're gonna have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you can cook along. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You can say, I'm gonna commit to breakfast. I'm gonna commit to lunch. I'm gonna commit to dinner. I'm gonna do whatever it is that I want to do. And so we are super excited to offer this. This with the Spring Into the Raw menu guide.
We will go ahead and we will finish up. So when you jump back in here, let us know that you can hear us. Let us know that you can see us. Looks like we still got quite a few people on. Hey, Natasha, you back too?
I'm here. I've been talking. I didn't know something happened.
You know, right, you guys. Y'all know how it is, right? So we were talking a little bit about Spring Into the Raw and bringing this all together. And I want to say this before you guys hop off or before we get interrupted again. The fact that this is now connected to legacy and your ability to not only just get into Spring Into the Raw and be able to get yourself on the right path, but you are also on the space to be able to get the information that you need and the training for you to get the highest point of being able to help someone else get what they need and help someone else pass it on. Because your goal in everything, and you're living healthy and you're being vibrant and raising your vibration, if people are already coming to you, that is a surefire sign that you need some kind of formal training so that you can actually help them. Legacy is the place for that. If you've never looked at health coaching, you want to make sure that you're looking at it and seeing what it is. The difference in legacy and some of these other schools out there is that we actually do cover chakras, subtle bodies, right? We cover the different pieces that bring you to become a high vibrational health coach. So it's more than food, but food is where it starts, and Spring Into the Raw is how that works. So for any of you who are interested and you want to get a scholarship, meaning that You're already in some kind of profession. You're a yoga teacher, you're a chiropractor, you're a nurse, you're a doctor, you're any kind of health professional or armed service person, or you're someone who's always been into health and wellness. Make sure you text the word raw to 678-585-6229, and it's going to ask you to give us your information so that we can qualify you for a scholarship. You want to make sure you do that so that these don't run out and you get the opportunity to go back to school with us. Now is the time, if you've never looked at eating right and getting the knowledge to help someone else, now is the time for you to be able to do that.
That's right.
Is there anything else you want to share, Natasha?
I don't know if everyone heard what we talked about with Spring Into the Raw. We start on April 20th to the 29th. I would love to see all of you guys join. It's an experience that is absolutely wonderful, and it's all about empowerment in the kitchen, and it's all about you getting out of your own way and seeing what you're absolutely capable of creating for yourself, particularly with your plate, all right? Particularly with your emotions, all of those things coming together. So we really hope that you guys join us from the 20th to the 29th, and we also hope that you guys decide to join Legacy. It's an absolutely wonderful experience, and it's one of the best things that I've ever done.
Nice. So really quickly, we're going to run to the comments before we end. If anyone has any questions, I think there was a question about hormones and food, and we'll talk a little bit about that before we hop off, just because I want to honor everybody's participation and being here with us.
Yes.
So Jocelyn says she was hearing the Spring Into the Raw conversation, so she could hear you, right?
Okay, good.
Awesome. Jocelyn also says, I love the fact that highly raw gourmet meals can be affordable. Most people think healthy is expensive and difficult, and it is the opposite. Usually, if you're a busy person and you want to be more cost effective, eating raw is going to get you there. It really is. It's going to be that thing that not only gives you more nutrient density per dollar that you spend, but it is the thing that's going to give you more energy, more downloads, and more high vibes as a result of it. Right. And he says, thanks. He said, love and light. Thanks for sharing, guys. Thank you, Ethiopian, for being here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Right. Nikita says self-evaluation all the time, right? Yeah, every day. Yes. Chandel says, I'm so excited about this. Yes, indeed, Chandel. So for those of you who are interested, make sure you text raw in. Here's the thing you want to understand. The world is not going to ever go back to the way it was.
Nope.
So if you are a helper, if you are a healer, if you are a healthcare provider, meaning that you got into the space of helping other people because you really did want to heal them, right? You really did want to help them at a deeper level. You want to make sure that you are tapped into what your next space is going to be. You received a stimulus check. Do not go spend it on a pair of Nikes. Do not go spend it on more of what you do not need. This is your time to put yourself in the space for a real come up. And the best thing you can do for yourself, here's what I'm going to say. There's only two types of people going through COVID-19 and everything that's happening. Number one are the people who have already properly positioned themselves to win big on the other side of this thing. And number two are the people who were not in position to win on the other side of this kind of crisis. Now, you only fit in one of those two categories. You know that you're in the last category, meaning that you were not ready. If your job is gone, you got a job you don't want to go back to, you got a school you don't want to send your kids back to, that means you were on the end of this thing where you were not ready. Don't let that happen to you again. The best thing you can do with the income and the information that you have right now is to make the move to make your legacy and yourself better and to increase your education. I guarantee you in 6 months, you will be glad with everything going to telemedicine and with health coaches being able to use insurance and having insurance codes. Trust me, you will be glad that you took the time to actually make yourself better by going through Spring Into the Raw and then educating yourself to be positioned to be able to help other people. Here's the thing you need to understand. This may not be the last pandemic we ever see. We can hope that it will be, but more than likely, it won't be. So the best thing you can do is be in the group of folks who are positioned to help at a massive level the next time this thing happens, and be certified to do so, so that you are not questioned about whether or not you've Googled your knowledge, but you actually know what you are doing and what you are saying when you're helping other people.
Ashe.
That is what you need to have. That is what you need to do, right? That is the best move that you can make for yourself, right? If you need more information, she says, love and light, Debbie Jefferson. Great, great, great. She says, thank you so much for these enlightening and timely sessions. Thank you, Jocelyn. And so you want to make sure that you're texting in so that not only that you get the information about legacy and what health coaches actually do and how to position yourself as one, but you also get the opportunity to be in spring into the raw and make sure that you're able to get yourself together for this spring to make the best decision for your life. Natasha, can you talk a little bit about how your life shifted as a result of being in legacy and what you currently do as a health coach?
Oh my goodness. So I've actually been through 2 health coaching programs. This is the second one. I would say you talked earlier about the people coming to you when you're ready, when you have the knowledge. I have clients that are finding me now on, my website, all of those things, one through what I do in terms of marketing, but then I've also aligned myself with a functional physician. So I actually have a health coaching practice out of her clinic. And so I'm doing work with her and her clients, her patients, and I'm also offering meals, my plant-based meals to go. That is the first medicine that many of these people are getting, all right, because they have to change their diet because things are just so bad with their eating. Their doctor is prescribing them, you need to have plant-based meals. You need to, I don't want to cook. All right, Chef Bee can do it for you. All right. So part of the coaching program that I offer is not just only health coaching, but it's also plant-based meals to go. It's essential oil education, plant-based nutrition, and it's a cohesive package. And I'm able to do this because I have found someone that I can align myself with, a physician that is in alignment with the way we were taught at Legacy. So it's so exciting. And we know that there's not a whole lot of folks out there like that, but trust me, there's going to be more of them. So I'm telling you, y'all, this is the time. Don't be afraid. Find the funds. You can do it because you don't want to miss the opportunity. You don't want the prices to change on you and be like, man, I should have done it then. I should have struck when the iron was hot. Go for it. So I mean, I'm learning so much working with a physician. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly elevating my own knowledge. And I'm niching myself because in regards to plant-based foods, it's something that everybody needs. It's not just something that a few people need. Everybody needs to have more plants into their diet. So understanding all that it offers the body. Everybody needs to know that. Everybody needs to be trained on that. Okay. So yes, it's been incredible just coming through Legacy. It's been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. And I'm so glad you shared that because I think when people are giving out health and wellness advice, they don't take into consideration that 86% of people will have at least exposure to at least one chronic illness. So if you're going through a school and they're not teaching you chronic disease management, they're not teaching you medications, right? The fact that a person puts any pill into their body automatically throws off their nutrition. It automatically throws off things in their body. So as a health person, whether you're doing yoga, whether you're in healthcare, if you don't know that this is what's happening, how can you give any sound advice that will actually help a person? So this is where the right kind of training comes into play, and Legacy brings all those pieces together, right? So it's more than just the metaphysical parts of this and the parts that make us light up and say, wow, that's great. Chakras, awesome. But it's also about the majority of the people on the planet who really need help with disease management, who really need help with education on nutrients and nutrient deficiencies as they relate to pharmaceuticals that people take. If you're giving out advice and you have no idea about those things, that is where you know you need to halt and then decide where you're going to go to get trained and get that information, right? Because you can't Google yourself to change someone else's body. right? You have to make sure that you're trained because it matters, right?
Yes.
So legacy brings those pieces together. And then additionally, one other thing I'm going to say before we hop off is if you look up health coaches, I know within a 20-mile radius of me, there were over 50 doctor's offices looking for a health coach. I guarantee you that number has gone up.
Yeah.
So the opportunity for you to work and to work virtually and to actually know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And the reason why a lot of health coaches, because don't make no mistake, there are over 100,000 health coaches nationwide, but there's a ton of vacancies because there's a lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So knowing just enough about nutrition, not enough. Got to know diseases, you got to know medications, you got to know anatomy and physiology. And then it would help if you knew chakras, holistic nutrition, and some other pieces that would allow the doctors to be able to trust you with their patients. That is what legacy brings to this thing. And Spring Into the Raw gets you ready to do just that, right? And so you want to make sure that you're getting the information that you need and that the training that you choose is going to set you up so that when this next kind of pandemic or this next kind of thing comes through, trust me, it will. There's been one with every presidency. So if you think this is the last one, you're going to be in that second group we talked about. You're going to be in that group of folks on the other side of this thing that didn't get anything out of it except the stimulus check, right? Be smart with how you choose to use this. And it's a good thing, but it's nothing in the grand scheme of things if you don't use it properly.
Yeah.
Got it? It's a great thing, but it's not anything. It is minuscule in the grand scheme of things if you don't use it to come up. That is what I mean by that. And so you have the opportunity to do that. The best thing you can do is put yourself in a program, put yourself in a training program that will take you to the next level and connect you with community of people who can help you stay there. Right. All right. Really quickly, we're going to run to the comments before we help. Oh,
yes.
Don't get a text raw in. If you want information and you want to talk to somebody, we can get you what you need. Laurie says, I was hoping to attend your school before the pandemic, hoping that finances will let me do this. Love and light. Laurie, we hope you look back because there are plenty of ways you can pay for this program.
Exactly.
Plenty of ways, right? To pay small amounts monthly so that you're at least in the program and you get the opportunity to get in community for it to change your life. So don't let money be the reason you don't do it, right?
Don't do it.
You definitely don't want to do that.
Let me say something, to those of you who are listening who really want to be in the program, it's really about your desire to be in the program, right? We are very flexible and we can definitely make some things happen for you. Your will and your desire to be here and to move your legacy forward is the thing that trumps everything, all right? And so don't let the money stand in the way. It's not an issue if this is something that you really want, because you will. When you start investing in yourself like that, y'all, it will come back to you. Yeah. So please don't let money be an issue. Oh, I can't afford. No, you can do it. You can shift some things around and really make this doable for yourself.
I can honestly say, and I'm going to tell you guys the first module, and if you're on here and you're from Legacy, I want you to speak to this as well. Type in the comments how you felt after your first module on mindset and the different theories that we shared, like the double slit test that allowed you to see, oh my God, physically, metaphysically, I'm drawing good or bad to me. And this is what I needed to do to make my shift. So the first class has your mind on a whole different level. We don't just dive into food and all these different things, because we know that as the student, as the leader, right, you deserve to be nurtured first, right? And so we start with your leadership development, your personal development, and then we take you into all of these different pieces, right? She says, oh my God, it was amazing. The first day of class is always unforgettable for everyone because they walk away saying, I think I just got my whole life straight. I think I know the reason now. I think I just got my whole life straight. And it's important that you realize you don't know what you don't know. It doesn't matter how long you've been a yoga teacher. It doesn't matter how long you've been helping people with health and wellness, so to speak, right? It doesn't matter that you think you can get away with this uncertified. We are moving towards a time and space where your certification is not just necessary, but it will be mandated. For you to be able to give people any kind of advice, it will be mandated and people will ask you for it. So, so we're moving away from the days for you to be able to say, oh, I'm just a yoga teacher, but I also help with nutrition. Or I'm just, you know, a Reiki master, but I also know a little bit about food. Those days are leaving us, you guys.
Yeah. You need to have your credentials.
Those days are gone.
You need to have those credentials in place. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And she says, Weta says she healed herself in the process. That's what it's all about. Captoria says it confirms so much for me. It was amazing. Yolanda says it's a call to reset. Absolutely. It's a call to reset and take action. Jocelyn says, I really want to be in this program. You should definitely check it out.
Jocelyn, come on.
Yeah,
let's talk.
Definitely check it out. And Jocelyn, I think you're already a health coach, so you probably qualify for a scholarship. And here's what I'm going to do. For anyone, am I crazy?
Let me hear what you about to do, Angela.
Right. That's the one thing about people, some folks on my team, right? They'll be like, what did you do? Like, are you going to tell us anything? You know, so here's what I'm going to do. For anybody who comes through that raw and you text in, you will get, not only will you get the program, but you will get Spring Into the Raw. You will get digital copies of Cure, Cleanse, and Awaken to Wellness. That's 2 books that you definitely want in your heart, right? And you will also get the course Chakra Balance Blitz, which is a separate 7-day course that teaches you how to eat, meditate, and do all these things for each chakra. So you get everything you need to get your life on the right track, right? Right. So you get Spring Into the Raw. Let me be clear, y'all, because I get amnesia, right? So you get Spring Into the Raw.
Yep.
It's the health coach training program, and that's if you texted raw in, right? If you texted raw in, you get Spring Into the Raw. You get the health coach training program. You get Chakra Balance Splits, which is a separate 7-week course that teaches you in depth from the Sanskrit languages all the way up to EFT and how to actually tap to heal each chakra. It's a 7-week course, the best one on the market. I created it with another practitioner, and it is amazing. So you get Chakra Balance Splits. Then you get copies of Awaken to Wellness. And you get a copy of 21-Day Cure Cleanse, which is another way for you. It's a guide for you to pull out and determine whether or not you even need a cleanse. And then it takes you through the journey to catch everything that keeps you unhealthy so that you stay on track. So y'all get all of those different things, okay? Now,
Angela, you crazy. You know that, right?
Right? She said, let me go get signed up, right? So you get those things, okay?
Come on, Chandel. Let's talk.
Additionally, she says, yes, I'm a health coach from IIN. Oh my God, thank you. Yeah. So you definitely, if you're a health coach, here's what I'm going to do. Besides those things, if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a health teacher, meaning you're a yoga teacher, Pilates instructor, right? You're a personal trainer. We're going to give you an extra 10% off, right? Of whatever tuition is now. Additionally, if you're in the armed services, right? Or if I'm doing this for essential workers, meaning the healthcare providers, armed services, you're a police officer, you're a retired vet. This is the space you need to be in right now. Yeah. So we will give you an additional 20% off of your registration for class, plus all those bonuses. That's the best I can do. I'm trying to set you up to do what you need to do, right?
That's so good. That's the best I could do. That's amazing. That's amazing. Y'all,
can I sign up? Put your name in the comments so that we know who you are.
Yes.
Says, I need to sign up. I've been interested in health coaching and wellness for years now and just don't know where to start. Trust me, legacy is where you start. We may not have invented health coaching. We didn't create it, but by God, we perfected it. Yes. That I can say. We absolutely perfected it, right? Yes, we did the market research to show you where all the holes were in all these other programs. That's why there are over 100,000 coaches, but massive vacancies nationwide. The other programs, the coaches simply don't know enough. I can't say it's the program because I haven't taken every program. Right. What I can say is the proof is in the fact that we have 100,000 coaches nationwide, and there's a big gaping hole for a need for health coaches. So somewhere the knowledge is lacking tremendously. So you want to be very careful with the school that you sign up with, because you might end up in the boat with no clients, right? Or you might end up in a space with not enough knowledge. And typically, it's that last thing, right? It's not that you don't have the clients, because there's plenty of people who need you. There's plenty of doctors who need you, but it is because the knowledge is lacking. You don't know how to have a conversation about diabetes. You don't know how to have a conversation with a corporate wellness company and put a proper proposal in place. We teach that at Legacy. We teach you the business stuff too. So you're not going to ever leave this program and not know what you're doing, right? And not know how to run your business, right? So let's run really quickly to the comments. Lorraine says, I need to sign up. You definitely do. She says, I am in the Caribbean. Hope it still applies. Yes, it still applies.
Yes, it does.
We have students in Japan, Australia. There's students everywhere. So it doesn't matter where in the world you live. Hey, Lakeisha McGaney. Lakeisha says, this is an absolutely invaluable package right there. I know for a fact that you should not let money be an obstacle. You can't afford not to do it. Thank you, Lakeisha.
Thank you, Lakeisha.
Says, what if you're a massage therapist and a fitness instructor? If you are both of those, then you definitely get the 10% off, and also you get all of the stuff. So the chakra balance splits. Let me run it down again, right? Spring it to the raw.
Yeah.
That you get CBB, chakra balance blitz, the best chakra course on the market. It's worth every dime, right? Next thing you get is the health coach training program. The next thing you get are copies of Awaken to Wellness, right? Digital copy, and you get a copy of 21 Day Cure Cleanse. If you are an essential worker, meaning that you're a healthcare provider, I don't care if you're a patient care tech, I don't care if you got a 2-year degree or a certification, and you are an essential worker, you are in the armed services, or you are a retired veteran, you get an extra 20% off of tuition. That's the best I can do, you guys. That's the best I can give you. She says, Kitty Jacobs, check this out. Thank you for putting that out there.
Dang, Ange. Dang.
Yeah, that's the best I can do, right? She says, today is a blessed day. So you want to make sure you text her all in. Here's how this works. Because we got people who've been kind of in our system, kind of stewing around. This is only for the people who text raw in. Yeah. When you text raw in, put your stuff in the application. If you're in the armed services, if you're a nurse, let us know that so that we can give you all of your stuff and so that you can talk to someone. If it is about creating a payment plan that you can afford, we do that. There's so many ways for you to be able to go back to school with us, and it fits your budget. So don't ever let that be the thing that stops you. Take the first step. There's another pandemic coming. Make no mistake. There is another something coming. You want to be on the other side of this thing that is primed and ready with your brand, your business, your knowledge, and your certification in place for you to serve so big when this thing is over. You want to be in that group of people. You don't want to be the one wondering why you're still at your job and hating that they're getting ready to open everything back up and you might have to go to work. Don't be that person. Don't let that be you. You have the opportunity to do something different. It is a choice, and the choice is yours, right? She says, thank you, sis. You are so welcome. So make sure you guys text in. Listen, Natasha, do you have any last words before we hop off? I got to make a list of all that stuff, right?
Yeah, we got to make a list, right? Y'all, just don't get in your way. If this is something that you want to do, if what we're saying resonates with you, then come on, let's do this. It's an absolutely important time for us to awaken to our wellness, invest in ourselves, and do the things that we need to do and take the leap. Yeah. There's no hesitation anymore. We got to do what they say. My sister says 2020 is clear vision. Yeah. So if this is what's calling you, if there's an urge for you to support people in your community, this is the time. There's no hesitation. Go for it.
Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah. And the last thing I'm going to say is, if your heart has been calling you to do this work, if you are a heart-centered spiritpreneur and everything in your soul knows that you are here to help people, and those people are not showing up, they cannot show up until the teacher shows up for themselves first.
That's right.
I'm a living witness to that. I have spent almost 2/4 developing myself, putting myself in the space so that every single one of you can recognize and show up for yourself. So make no mistake, what you get at Legacy, is something far above what you will ever get anywhere else. That I can promise you. And so don't let anything stand in the way of you, of what your ancestors and what your family and your culture have poured into you to be able to bring back to them. Don't let anything stand in your way of that. All right. All right. It's been a pleasure sharing time and space, y'all.
Yes, y'all. Come on.
All that good stuff. Got to text in. If we didn't get a text, we don't have you, right? So and then you can speak to someone tonight, or you can speak to someone tomorrow. Someone will reach out to you without a shadow of a doubt. Someone on our team will reach out to you just to talk through it, to make sure it's what you want to do and to get you what you need and get you selected. One last thing. We always start class with a new moon. That's how we do at Legacy, right? We are always in alignment with everything that we do. So the next class is going to start on the 23rd, right, Natasha? 23rd? I think it's April 23rd. Spring into the Raw starts on the 20th, right? So you want to make sure that you're lined up and you're in the space to be able to get what you need when it's time for that to be able to start. Listen, it's been a pleasure sharing time and space with every single one of you. Before you hop off, like we always do, we seal in our time together here saying sharing love and light to someone in the comments. If you haven't already done so, make sure you take the opportunity to choose someone you do not know and send them love and light, right? Send it to them, because now is the time that we absolutely need it the most, all right? And I'm sending so much peace, love, and light to every single one of you, whether you're catching it now or whether you're catching the replay. And my hope is that I'll see you in class. Have a good evening, everybody.